It's a hard life being a cider apple tree at this time of year as the mechanical harvesters shake the fruit off the branches. This method of getting the apples was introduced around 15 years ago. The problem is the vigorous shaking of the trunk puts a strain on the roots, and modern dwarf trees tend to have less sturdy root systems. Now Bulmers reckon they have the answer. They've developed a designer tree which is actually 3 varieties in one. They start with a normal apple variety which has a strong rootstock. Then they graft a bud of a dwarf variety onto it so that it produces a short trunk. A year later they graft on a bud higher up the stem of a cider fruit variety. The result, a dwarf cider apple tree with strong roots.
What it'll mean is that we can get increased crops per acre. It'll produce trees that can be pruned and looked after easily from the point of view of pest and disease control. And above all, it'll put up with these vigorous means of harvesting that we're carrying out at the moment.
Experimental 3-in-1 trees are already undergoing trials at Bulmers Nursery. This one is actually growing dessert apples on a dwarf stem. But could all this messing about with the type of tree affect the taste of the cider?
No, I don't believe cider itself will change, because I think we've have continued with and will continue to identify varieties that have got these specific flavours and attributes. And that's probably the most important component part of the cider produced today.
Bulmers have nearly 2,000 acres of cider orchards, and they also supply trees from their nursery to contract growers too. It'll take 4 years for trials on the designer tree to be completed, but Bulmers are hoping they can prove 3-in-1 will go.
Now, time for a break.
In a few minutes.